Hello and welcome to At Brookings. I'm Gigi Hinton. First up in our podcast, the presidential contest in Afghanistan, which is still undecided. Our panel of foreign policy experts offers insight into possible outcomes of this critical election. Then we'll hear from senior fellow Alice Rivlin as she weighs in on two government reports taking a look at our long-term budget and deficit projections. We'll have all that next at Brookings.
This is At Brookings, a review of news and events for the week of August 24th, 2009.
With the election in Afghanistan still undecided, Brookings experts Bruce Rydell and Michael O'Hanlon consider the possible outcomes and the impact of this critical election.
If Karzai is returned to office now because of Dostum as his supporter, then hopes for anti-corruption, good governance, and the rest are going to be rather bleak in the new second round of a Karzai administration. On the other hand, if we go to a second round runoff, then really all bets are off. I don't think anyone really knows what a second round is going to look like. There are several scenarios, and there are intricate linkages between them, all of which are very complex. One scenario you will hear a lot of is that there's going to be a backroom deal, that Karzai and Abdullah, if they go to a second round, will somehow come to an arrangement which will obviate the need for an election, and they'll share power. I'm skeptical of this. Certainly possible. Politicians making deals happens everywhere. But I think at this point, if Abdullah does get to a second round, the desire to see if he can actually win the whole thing is going to be overwhelming.
There's a certain amount of fragile optimism in Afghanistan that we've seen in some International Republican Institute polls and other surveys recently, but it's probably quite shallow and fragile because, of course, the overall trend line of the last 3 or 4 years is declining optimism, declining pro-Americanism, declining views towards NATO and towards Afghan's own government. So when you sum it all up, the public opinion polls are better right now about all these things, about the future, about NATO, about us. But we better take advantage of this last opportunity because I have a feeling that it's the last fresh start we can really have in Afghanistan.
With grim prospects for the nation's long-term debt projections, senior fellow Alice Rivlin says it's clear what's driving the deficit's unparalleled growth.
The result of both the recession and, more importantly, the actions that have been taken to counteract the recession and to stabilize the financial institutions have been very expensive. And so those add to the current deficits and to the debt. Now, these figures are very large. The estimate now is that over the next 10 years that the government will run deficits cumulatively of $9 trillion. That's an awful lot of money. That's how much we'll add to the debt if we don't do something about it. But most of that is not new news. Most of that is the effect of the entitlement programs, Social Security, but more importantly, Medicare and Medicaid that are rising more rapidly than other spending and more rapidly than our taxes will support.
At Brookings is produced by the Brookings Institution. To learn more about the issues discussed on At Brookings, visit our website at brookings.edu.